Thank you for doing this interview, man. I appreciate it. To start with, could you just tell me your name or pseudonym and what you do?
I'm Shibtoshi and the CEO and founder of SquidGrow and SilentSwap.
Very good. Let's dive into what all that means. So to start with, could you tell me how you got involved with crypto, how you took on that name, Shibtoshi, and what has brought you to what you're doing now, which is, I guess, SquidGrow and SilentSwap?
Perfect. Yeah. So first heard about crypto in 10. It was Bitcoin. I didn't really take an interest in it for a couple months later. I was formally introduced to Bitcoin on the poker tables in Vegas. Um, got wiped out on the table. My buddies were talking about an online poker game. You know, went through the how do I buy in, so on and so forth. They explained to me Bitcoin, and after I had a couple of simple questions answered, I did an OTC with my buddy for 30K. I didn't make that particular game, but the game following the next day, I attended and got wiped out for the full 30K. But when I got home, did my due diligence on Bitcoin, read the white paper, started joining the forums. I thought it was everything that we needed in this space, man. And shortly thereafter, I was introduced to Paxful and local Bitcoins, and those are platforms that allowed you to facilitate OTCs peer to peer. So that was really when my crypto journey started. First crypto was Bitcoin, second was Namecoin, and my third that I bought was Litecoin, and I was off to the races.
It's it seems to me that especially OGs like yourself, it's a pretty common path. At least that's what I've heard of moving from like professional gambling or something like that into crypto. Have you noticed that yourself?
I have heard that. Yeah, I was far from a professional, but I definitely enjoyed sitting down with the boys and losing some money. I always enjoyed playing my friends. Because everybody knows you don't play your cards that you're dealt. You play the person that you're sitting at the table with. So, especially as they tend to drink a little bit, it's gets quite interesting. But yeah, I have noticed that, and what I've learned, kind of stemming from playing poker to segueing into crypto is I think it's really desensitized me from like the ups and downs of the market, because there's been many instances on the poker table where I was way down, but a single hand can change that. So I think it's really desensitized me in a lot, and I've heard that quite often from other people that come from similar backgrounds.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Stomaching the volatility of crypto is, well, it's either like an acquired thing, like myself. I didn't come
Sure.
from like a poker background or anything like that, but it was quite a shock your first cycle, obviously, right? Just the sheer volatility. But coming from a background, as you said, where you kind of have to get used to that would definitely be a benefit, I think. And so it makes sense that, especially early on, a lot of people early to crypto would have that kind of inoculation, I guess.
Yeah,
All right.
I think we're seeing in this from stemming from last cycle, a lot of new people in crypto, the last bull, we're not expecting the volatility of the bear market. So I think it was quite shock. That's kind of the biggest thing that I've heard from talking to people that were new. But if the micro cycle does what it has done before, macro cycle, I mean, it eventually goes back up depending on the assets that you hold.
Definitely. Speaking of which, so you said your first coin was Bitcoin, then Namecoin, then Litecoin.
Correct.
Um, so from there, I'm assuming there's a story of how you got into SHIB. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, I played around in Degen, in between 2011 to 2020, which is when Shiba launched. But the story of SHIB is so predating when SHIB launched. I was getting ready to go out to lunch with one of my buddies, and we were walking to the car, and he was bragging about his stock portfolio, how he was up 30% for the year. And I was kind of poking fun at him, just kind of laughing, yo, like, my portfolio swings like 30% in a day sometimes, you know. So, we just kind of got to talking, and I was really trying to sell him on Bitcoin. That was really what I was pushing at that time. And you know, didn't think I, made a dent in him. Didn't think he was going to see my reasoning in any capacity. And several months later, he hits me up and he starts talking about this Dogecoin killer coin, Shiba Inu. And he came across it in a community that he was in. And I thought to myself, surely, like, there's no way that, he found anything of any value. Like, there's no way. I've not known him to, you know, have dabbled in any cryptocurrencies. We talked about Doge and so on and so forth, but um, I didn't know him to be dabbling. So when he was bringing this to me, I didn't really think much of it. But he was very persistent. So I told him to add me to the community. I got, added in there, but it was all in like Arab. I couldn't understand it. So he was trying to translate for me. There came a point that I just left the group, but he was definitely persistent. So within 5 hours, after we had been talking about it amongst our friends, I had discovered that several of our mutual friends had bought into SHIB as well. There was a total of seven, and we were talking about amounts of percentages that they own and so on and so forth. And around hour five, I just thought it'd be hilarious to just buy more tokens than all of them together, and that's what I set out to do. I started buying around, I think, 500,000 market cap on the way up, and then obviously it turned back right back around and came down. But a dollar cost average for a couple of days, I put about 37 and a half ETH into it, which was roughly about $13,500, and it died. So we all thought. The new iPhone came out. I upgraded to a new phone. The wallets that were on that phone got tucked away, and I didn't lose any sleep over it. And slowly but surely, the circle starts talking about SHIB again, and Shib's actually starting to move. It's actually doing some things. And I believe it was in October. There was a community member, and now obviously Shib had already started moving at this point, but in October, I believe it was, there was a community member that tagged Elon Musk on X and asked him, how much Shiba Inu do you hold? And Elon said zero. And I just remember the run up from that moment. It was like Elon said, I'm buying $1 billion of this token right now. Like, it was just quick and violent. And yeah, it was off to the races. So I'm definitely glad I didn't wipe that phone, because I didn't actually log the seed phrases at that particular time in that particular
Whoa,
wallet,
wow.
because it was a shit coin, right? And it died. So, like, I had it on the phone, but if I had wiped that phone, I would have been SOL. But that wasn't the case. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was quick and violent, and definitely has some amazing screenshots from the gains on Shib. But you actually have to realize those gains to enjoy any of that. But so I sustain myself off of my Bitcoin holdings. I'm still a proud supporter of Shib and everything that they're doing. I still proudly hold my bag.
Wow, what a story. That's incredible. So I want to pick apart this a little bit.
Sure.
Um, so so before you bought into Shib, you were fully on board with the idea of meme coins as like a viable thing, because
Not
that's still pretty
really.
early.
I mean, I remember when Dogecoin came out, and I didn't do any due diligence in Doge. But the little research that I did, I knew it was mintable, and I knew that was a bad thing. So I wasn't interested. I didn't really fully understand what it was about. There had been a couple other meme tokens that I had jumped into that I did okay. Some I lost on, and like many others. My group of friends and I got together and we start hitting up Pink Sale and DX Sale, and we're finding these pre-sales and we're just losing our ass. And out of some of those there was a gem, very rare. But for me, meme coining kind of just scratched the itch of the adrenaline that poker once did for me. It's like the gamble. Obviously, the odds are in less of your favor on these tokens, but that's kind of what it did for me, and it allowed us to banter back and forth between my group of friends, and as we did, but a lot of my friends didn't take any time to do any due diligence. So they kind of went rogue, and some of them lost quite a bit of money. I had been trying to get my friends into Bitcoin since the early days, And I vividly remember talking to one of my best buds, Huntsman, trying to get him to buy Bitcoin at around $100. And
Oof.
he did do it. And then sometime later, and I think 14 it was, he hit me up and he was getting ready to buy this boat. And he was like, "Damn, man, if I would have bought X dollar amount of Bitcoin back then, I would have been able to pay for this boat and some." And we just kind of bantered back and forth about it. But there was definitely a phase, in 18, 19, 20, that, my circle and I just kind of went off the rails and just jumped into everything. How I wouldn't actively go look for things, but if I saw them talking about it in the group, I definitely jump into it. I mean, it's all a gamble, you know.
Very, very cool. So you weren't one of these like Bitcoin maximalists, I'm assuming, obviously, right? Like
I,
you
I'm a I'm
did
a
you
Bitcoin supporter. I was
mm-hmm,
around for the around for the Bitcoin Cash airdrop as well. That everybody got
mm-hmm,
if you
right.
held in
That's
self
right, yeah.
custody. I held on to that for a little bit. I liquidated that, bought more Bitcoin. I'm a supporter of Bitcoin, and I believe in everything that Shibtoshi set out to do. I read the white paper, as I think anybody should if they're in crypto, and the vision of it was just amazing. And the fact that he actually called the crash of '08 before it actually happened was actually pretty cool. He saw the writing on the wall. But no, I mean, I understand that, there's different areas in crypto, different things, have their place. Bitcoin is one of the more serious, like, if I'll say, world currencies, possibly, versus, you have other coins like, these meme coins that are just, you buy them because they got cute little logos or a good name or some kind of narrative. They got a good community. But for me, what I really look for is the community support behind a project. And obviously, everybody tries to catch it in the beginning. But even if you're finding it late, if there's a good community support level, might be worth it to take a chance. But again, you never invest more than you can afford to lose. I've known people that have invested, their mortgage payments, and
Oof.
were in a really bad situation. Um, but I'm not going to say I'm one of the maxis. Definitely not. I'm definitely a strong supporter of it. I'm vocal about it, but I'm open enough to all the other cryptos that are in existence. Like in the early days, there wasn't much. There was Bitcoin, then there was Namecoin, and then there was Litecoin, and that was really it. Then you start seeing Zcoin Cash and so on, Bitcoin Cash come out, or Zcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and you start seeing a variety. And I'm buying a piece of it along the way. I mean, this is something new that, like, I've never seen done before, so of course I'm gonna, you know, jump into it. And I had some winners, I had some losers. Um, but for me, it's just like, I love the idea of crypto being that there's not a central entity that can just take your assets from you. In most cases, depending on the project, obviously. But Bitcoin, let's say, you're not paying your adequate amount of tax. The government can't just come in and freeze your Bitcoin like they can your bank account. There's a level of freedom there. I mean, it is, you control your keys, you control your assets, and unless you give it to a centralized exchange, you're in sole possession of it. And I really like that empowerment. And when Paxful and Local Bitcoin came out and they did the peer-to-peer platforms, I really thought that was really cool because there was a way to actually transact, and more importantly, there was a way to actually convert this Bitcoin back to money. Which, in the beginning days, I was kind of hung up on that. I thought, like, okay, I buy this Bitcoin and now I'm stuck with it. I can't possess it. Like, what do I do with it? When I first started researching Bitcoin in 10, it was used for illicit activities and I deemed it to be illegal. I was just not educated. And obviously, that still happens today, unfortunately, but, that wasn't the vision from Shibtoshi. It was about something that was just truly decentralized. Um, and I mean, fuck, it's come a long way. I remember when it was rolling over $100. Now it's $100,000. Like, what's it going to be in another 10 years? Because I trust and fully believe that it's still going to be around. And then we got like Michael Saylor accumulating Bitcoin at a crazy rate. I think they just bought like another 1,000 Bitcoin. He's like 400,000 Bitcoins in. Like, I mean, you got big figures backing it now. And then you got the new administration. They're pro crypto. You got Trump talking about Bitcoin reserve. right? And I believe I heard something about them possibly accumulating Bitcoin as well. That's yet to be seen, but I definitely like where we are currently when it comes to crypto. More and more countries are acknowledging cryptocurrency and adopting it and utilizing it. We have countries utilizing Bitcoin. So, it's definitely a very powerful thing and a very empowering thing. And, the fact that, you can go to sleep at night and know that there's not a third party that can, forcefully take your funds from you. Um, Obviously, if there's no missteps on your behalf, is a pretty empowering thing.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. But I also like the fact that you were able to still keep an open mind after Bitcoin. And just something that I was thinking of when you were talking earlier about kind of scratching that itch of gambling is something Kobe said, which is taking a small percentage of your portfolio and kind of doing degenerate things helps him maintain his long-term bags so that he doesn't mess with those kind of with those assets that he really knows he shouldn't, but if
Yeah.
he had idle hands he might. And
Yeah.
so it sounds like you kind of did something similar, which I think is a good strategy.
Yeah, what I like to do is I do the 50-50. So when I pull profit on something, 50% always goes to my bank account, 50% stays in the market, and I either reinvest it somewhere or I keep it in stable coins until there's something that I want to put it in. And a big regret that I do have on this last dip last year was, I offloaded my Ethereum to buy more Bitcoin. In hindsight, I wish I hadn't done that. Now, obviously, I've been able to accumulate my position back, but at a premium. Um, I probably should have better gauged things, but I started with Bitcoin. I had a holding goal that I wanted to achieve, and I achieved that. I've been there, did that, and now I kind of revert back. But it's from those profits, that 50% that I talked on that I keep in the market. That that's kind of what I'm a degenerate with, if I'm feeling a little froggy and I want to go do some gambling, I'll throw it in over here, throw it in over there. Sometimes it's hit, sometimes it's a miss. I've had some big losses, but I've also had some big wins. But, it's that adrenaline rush, of, not really knowing what's going to happen. It is completely out of your control, but it's still exciting, especially when you have friends to like banter back and forth with. Oh, it's doing this, it's doing that you know so I mean it's just something that my circle and I bond over. I don't jump into every project that they talk about because majority of them are losers, as far as the projects goes. But it's good to get involved every once in a while. So although it's not something that I need to do, I've done quite all right in the space, but as I said, it scratches that itch for me. It gives me that adrenaline rush, but nothing scratches that itch like trading perpetuals, man. Like that's
Oh,
that's where it's
really?
at. I'm a perpetual trader, man. I love perpetuals. Now,
Oh,
obviously,
man.
I'm not as good as some others in the space, but I do okay, and I get it wrong a lot of times, but in the times that you do get it right, it's brings me right back to the poker table days. You know.
Good on you, man. I have run myself against that perpetual wall too many times. I have to I got to stay away, but I'm always uh impressed by people who can come out ahead on that.
Well, I'll tell you this, and this is something that my former CMO Dane told me. He pointed out to me that Ethereum Classic almost always follows Ethereum, right? So when Ethereum has a movement, Ethereum Classic follows, and vice versa. So it's like a hack, and I've used this so many damn times. If Ethereum has a movement one way or another, you can long or short Ethereum Classic, and it's like a guaranteed thing pretty much, obviously not financial advice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that was something that he pointed out, and I had never realized it, and I have talked about it ever since then, because after I tried it several times and it was successful, I was like, holy shit, this freaking guy like found a cheat code. So I give kudos to Dang, Crypto Blast on that. So, I mean, if you ever want to scratch that itch with perpetuals, maybe, check Ethereum Classic out.
I actually will. I'm going to do it with a very tiny size, but I'm going to try that out for sure. Absolutely. You got me. All right, so let's talk about what you're doing now. SquidGrow. Could you
Yeah.
please tell me about that?
Yeah, so SquidGrow is a project that I founded in 2022. And talking about my friends, as I was earlier, there was a point in time that they kind of went off the deep end and just kind of started throwing money into everything. And it was through this group of friends that they slowly but surely started telling me that I should launch my own project. I'm like, why would I want to do that? Like, I've got no need for it. I don't have the time for it. But they were very persistent. And so one day it piqued my interest, and I started doing some research on YouTube on how to code contracts. And I ended up taking a 6 week, well, it was a 3 week Solidity course, but I took it for 6 weeks on how to code Solidity. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. Let me try this. So I coded my very first Solidity contract, SquidGrow, and we launched it June 17th, 2022. Uh, we had 88 members in the group, and about 5 minutes after we launched, realized the contract did not work properly. So we had to put out an announcement to tell the community that we had to relaunch the following day. So we stopped trading on the contract and relaunched June 18th, 2022. Obviously migrated the liquidity pools and started the market cap at 35K, and it was off to the races. At that particular time, obviously, I didn't really know my community. What I did know was my friends and family that had been taking losses in the space. So I started the project originally for them, to give them a place to, have a chance, because they were finding a lot of rugs where devs were just stealing their money. And, my friends know that I'd never do that to them. So kind of had some empowerment behind them, and found some motivation, and took the initiative to do it. And obviously now that's grown to providing a safe place for my friends, family, and my community, which I now have. And we have a decent community, and they're very active. So shout out to the Squid Grow Army. Um, but it was all about, providing a safe and secure place. And I understood going into it that, even though I was categorizing myself as a meme token, it was going to be hit and miss. Either a meme token catches or it doesn't. Now, obviously, there's some delayed effects, like maybe Shiba Inu would be an example, where it died and then launched, into the stratosphere. But going into it very early on, I knew that I wanted to have some kind of utility. I didn't want to just be this little image. And we didn't have the most friendliest or cutest little original image, Squid Grow, when we started, but um, we did obviously tweak it along the way. In the very early days, actually, we had very long, lengthy conversations with Netflix about our branding. So they were real generous to us, and gave us a lot of guidance. So we were fortunate enough to actually change everything about our branding and obtain our own intellectual property rights. But it could have been a completely different story. But very early on, I knew I wanted to develop utility, and we started developing utility even before the project had launched. And that goal still stays true till this day. I want to be a builder in this space. This project for me, and what it is that we build, is going to be my legacy. That's what I want it to be. I want it to be my legacy, and I'm not going to stop until it actually happens. So at this point, obviously my market cap's not in the billions. We're a low cap coin, around 30 million. We've been around for over 2.5 years. Um, but we have a very unique dynamic with our community. We have a great community support, and I self-fund every aspect of the project. Um, Getting a little off course though, but you know, I say that to say, all the utilities that I have ambitions to build, the community in no shape or form has ever funded any of that. We pay for it out of pocket. And going into this, I definitely wanted to add some meaningful utility. Obviously, in the early days, we had, some staking contracts, which I wouldn't consider utility, but, we started the process of trying to become a meme utility token. And then obviously, eventually, we get around to the point where we're dropping NFTs, NFT marketplaces, SilentSwap, swap, so on and so forth, and eventually segue into that. And for me, if a meme token doesn't just take off and catch, it's got to have something to fall back on and support itself. And for me, it's revenue based utilities. And in our particular situation, percentages of our revenue generated on our utilities go back into our chart in the form of a buyback and liquidity injection.
Very, very cool. Okay, so lem- can you, for people who are completely unfamiliar with SquidGrow, have no idea about it, can you give me like a brief summary of what it is?
Yeah, so SquidGrow is a meme utility token, originally launched on the BSC network, eventually migrated to the Ethereum network. And what it is it's a big community of like-minded people that see value in banding together in developing some cool utilities. Having a project that is self-funded by the dev, so the community pays for no aspect of it. And I think that's really resonated with a lot of people because a lot of other projects, the devs usually are paying for things from taxes and so on and so forth. But our goals and ambitions at SquidGrow is to continue to push and build and make our mark on the space and do things that people have told us that cannot be done, cannot be achieved. Um, so we stay on the grind, man. We've been at it for over 2.5 years, and just we've got a great community following, and without the community, I don't think you have any backbone in a project of any kind.
Yeah, definitely. I like this idea of a meme utility token. I also like some of what you were saying earlier about how, in this space, most meme coins, I would probably say most meme coins are rugs in some form or the other or other. And so, the fact that you've been around for 2 years and that you haven't rugged, you have a reputation, you have a community, uh, that that definitely is worth a lot, I think, in that respect. And you're you're showing progress in making things, being a part of different aspects of crypto that also has to be worth something. So I respect the staying in the space, not abandoning the project. It's so hard to grow these kinds of things, obviously, and to actually make something that's worthwhile and not just like a speculative pump and dump, is quite difficult. So that's awesome.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of bad actors in space. Sometimes projects are around for a couple minutes, sometimes they're around for a couple months. Um, you know, Out of all the projects that we were doing another interview a couple months back, and I believe they said since 2022, it's been like I think it was like 75% of the tokens that launched in 2022 are no longer around. They rugged or died. And to be one of those projects that are still around, it's pretty cool. But obviously, I knew going into this that we weren't going to go anywhere. Yeah, as I said, I have an extremely dedicated community and team. Definitely work day in and day out towards the greater goal of the project. And it's been very fulfilling to see, the support that we have gotten and the connections that we have made. And, yes, I am anonymous, but that shouldn't discredit the project in any way, shape, or form. I'm anonymous to protect my loved ones because I'm known to possess large amounts of crypto. Yeah, that makes me a target. So after I think people kind of get over that, the anonymous aspect of it, and they actually read into what it is that we are about and how transparent we have been throughout the years and the types of things that we're working towards building and have built, I think a lot of people can resonate with that. Most people would rather just jump into something and then become a millionaire overnight. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. We've not had that luxury. I wish we had. We fight and claw for every inch that we get to get pushed back several feet, and we back at it again. And that's been our story. But it's one of resilience, and you know, um, you, I do try to demonstrate. Obviously, you can say safest. I set out to launch the safest project in the space, and yada yada yada. Yes, I say those things, but actions speak louder than words, and trust is one of those things that is earned, not given. And so through our course of time in this space, just by how we conduct ourselves and the transparency that we have always done and the safety measures we put in place, such as like, our 18 CertTech audits and 4 hacking audits that we have, we always try to make sure that every aspect of the project is safe and secure. Because there's a great level of trust that goes into this, at any time that somebody's dabbling into, a crypto asset. So, you know, another motto that I always use is slow and steady. I wish it was fast and intense, but it's not what it is right now for us. Slow and steady fits. But yeah, just doing what we can to make our mark, man. Every day in and day out, just grinding and building. And another thing that I'd like to highlight is in a lot of projects, you don't often see that you have direct contact with anybody on the team, like day in and day out, right? I have got friends that have bought tokens and couldn't get any answers. The way that we run our project, at any point in time, anybody on my team can be reached, via DM, via Twitter message. Obviously we never send messages first. If you have a message to send it to us, you tag us in the main group and we'll go check it. But just that constant communication, now where we don't give the community the blueprints to the plans, we don't have a roadmap, right? And I do that kind of based on the under promise over deliver statement that I have always made. Um, I like to have the flexibility to pivot and shift courses if I need to. So if we had a roadmap, for example, and it said that we were going to do X, but we decided to go straight to Y because market sentiment or there's a new narrative, I have that flexibility instead of being bound by that roadmap. And so that's kind of another unique thing about us. But um, we are, as transparent as we can be. Obviously, we don't give inside information and give anybody like, heads up on things that we're doing. But, that open communication with the community, I think, is a very key factor in success of any project. The community wants to see you, they want to hear from you, they want to engage with you. And as long as they have that, many things can be weathered.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that part of that trust component in crypto um, can be earned by just not going away, So you've been in
Yeah.
it for 2 years, and
The
that,
dev goes on vacation right after launch. Like I've seen that so many damn times. Yeah, but yeah,
yeah,
I know
yeah,
exactly what you mean.
yeah. I mean, because I've been obviously a part of many projects and many discords, NFTs, meme coins, quote unquote legit projects, and then just to see the Discord or the Telegram die over time is a soul crushing thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about SilentSwap because I love privacy. It's one of my first loves of crypto. And when I found out that Bitcoin really isn't very private, I went searching for other went searching for other things and became like just a staunch Monero advocate. So I love
Yeah.
privacy, and I want to know more about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like you, going into Bitcoin in the beginning days, I believed it was private, and to an extent, it is. Until the point somebody actually has your address, and then they follow you
Yeah,
around the whole world on the blockchain. Um,
exactly.
so it was, I want to say, 2020 in 2023. I kind of started just realizing more and more the need for some kind of privacy solution. And I myself have known wallets. I'm followed around all over the blockchain, and it gets quite annoying. I get dusted. I get these annoying NFTs. Just it's an annoyance. You can't breathe without somebody dusting your wallets, and you can't transact with friends or family. And God forbid they just you transact with the
Oh
loved
yeah,
one.
exactly.
They send it to an internal address on an exchange. Now that internal address is doxed, so anytime they interact with that internal address from any other address, it connects their cluster together. It's annoying. So I started doing some research with the developers, and there was some privacy solutions that were out there that allowed you to move EVM and other assets around. The problem that I had with it was a custodial based platform. So, they generate a wallet address for you. You send your assets to this wallet, and from that wallet, they send it to an exchange, convert it to what you want, and then send it back to the address that you designate. The problem that I have with that is, I'm a big advocate, not your keys, not your crypto. And also, that'd be like us meeting on the street and you mentioning, hey, I want to move $10,000 in Ethereum. Hey, man, trust me, send it to me. I'll convert it to whatever you want and send it back to you. And I wasn't comfortable with that third party handling of my crypto assets. Not that any of the solutions that we're looking at were not trustworthy. It's just everybody's trustworthy until they're not trustworthy. Look at all the biggest bridges that have ever been in existence, doing billions and billions of dollars in volume a day, responsible for billions of dollars, and then all of a sudden there's the CEO leaks the private keys to his sister, and they steal hundreds of millions of dollars. So my point is, I'm just not comfortable giving my assets to a third party. I would much rather be in complete control of my assets, even utilizing exchanges, which I do use exchanges. I don't like to, but that's one of the only means and methods to actually off ramp in today's day and age. Um, it's just not an ideal solution for me. So we started doing our research on how we could offer a privacy solution. We first looked to Monero. First of all, it's impossible to get a hold of any Monero devs, and even harder to try to incorporate Monero in there, just the way that it was worked and the framework of it. So Monero wasn't a fit for us. And then we started doing some more research, and we discovered Secret Network. And Secret Network is a privacy blockchain, and they are very friendly, very eager to help you out. And you can actually contact their devs to answer questions, to get your questions answered. So we figured out the means that we were going to use to enact the privacy level, but now we needed to figure out how we can offer this service in a non-custodial manner, and that was the tricky part. We were told from competitors that it could be done. They were a million percent sure that it could be done, and if we happened to pull it off, it wouldn't work as intended. So I set out to disprove them, and that's very similar to what I actually told them in the messages. And I hired the devs, and we got to work. And after a period of time, after they produced the flow charts and everything, that on paper this is how it's going to work, we got to work on a proof of concept. And the very first time that a proof of concept transaction was done and I was not able to track it, I was very impressed. And it was my transaction, so I know where it started from and I know where it went, and I could not find the link. I was like, we're on to something. And then it was just a matter of building it in a capacity that could sustain volume and scaling. And we got to work. And there came a point, it was about a year build. We got to work on it in December of 23. We launched it in December of 24. Obviously, would have liked it to be done a little quicker than that, but we had nothing to really model it after or go off of. In my personal opinion, it was the first of its kind. And we successfully built a privacy cross-chain aggregator that is non-custodial, trustless, and decentralized. Now, currently, it only supports EVM chains, but the V2 version will have native Bitcoin, Solana, and some other assets as well. But you know,
Sorry,
without getting
could you just walk me through how this works? So let's say that, for example, I'm on Ethereum main chain and
okay,
I wanna move some uh I don't know, a stable coin.
okay.
Um,
So without getting super technical on it, you go to the
yeah,
platform. So essentially, this is how it works. Before I give a visual on it, your assets starting on Ethereum and you're moving to a stable coin, right? You can go cross chain if you wanted to like BNB or any other asset that you want, Shiba Inu, Dogecoin, whatever. But if you want to move from this wallet to that wallet and you don't want that connection to there
yeah.
to be a connection there,
Simple,
you
simple
initiate
case first.
you initiate the swap, you initiate the transfer, and your wallet then converts everything to USDC stablecoin, and that is what actually moves through the process now. We use decentralized and trustless bridges, right? SilentSwap doesn't actually have any smart contracts of its own. We are a routing service,
So
so
you
we
use
use
like to bridge or something, or
we don't use dbridge. We are partnered with Squid Router. Squid
Okay.
Router is one of those. So if you're familiar with Squid Router, we use Osmosis and Axler. They're decentralized um, options that they have out there, but essentially your assets convert to stablecoin and then route through Osmosis to Secret Network. And Secret Network, it utilizes Axler, converts to an asset that you're looking for, and routes it to where you want it to go. And then there's a final unwrap that you don't have to do anything with, but you have Osmosis wrapped, and then in your wallet, it will unwrap it to the asset that you want. Cool thing about SilentSwap is the competitors only allow you to send assets from wallet A to wallet B. On SilentSwap, you can send up to 16 different wallets. So let's say you had $16,000 to make it easy, and you wanted to fund 16 different wallets with $1,000 or any variation percentage. You can do that on our platform, various addresses. Um, we are an obfuscating platform. I can't say that we are untrackable, right? That would seem like that would uh, garner some attention that we probably don't want. But on that, we have gone above and beyond, in my opinion, to make sure that we are compliant. We do have our audits, like I mentioned. We got a perfect score of 10 on Hackin, but we also have a United States legal opinion on our SilentSwap platform that deems that we are regulatory compliant. And then we took it a step further, and we implemented OFAC and AML on the platform as well to try to make sure that we are even further being compliant and just trying to discourage bad actors from using our platform.
Compliant
Um,
with what exactly? Sorry.
the regulatory structure, right? So at the time, now this isn't valid anymore because they reversed it, but at the time
Right.
there was rulings against Tornado Cash, right? And the
Yeah, I
Tornado
remember that.
Cash
Yeah.
rulings set very clear expectations of where they violated, right? So that was the reason for our
I see.
legal opinion to make sure that we weren't, tiptoeing those lines. Since then, they overturned it against Tornado Cash, so it really, it's kind of moot at this point, but we still have our legal opinion that deemed that we were compliant and we weren't tiptoeing any lines. We're not, money transmitting service, so on and so forth. Um, and then we implemented OFAC and AML on the platform as well as just a step further. Um, but yeah, so essentially the gist of it, you start with asset A, it converts to a stable coin, goes to Osmosis, this secret network, converts to the assets that you want. It gets routed back to the wallet that you've deemed. And how the platform actually works. My dev actually put out a great video on SilentSwap. Is our platform, your main wallet will generate child wallets, and those child wallets is actually what's moving your funds, and that is how you're in possession of your assets every step of the way, with the exception of obviously the trustless bridges that are being used. But on the platform, you can keep track of every step that is going on the platform. So it's a quite cool thing. V2, I'm even more excited about V2 than V1. We will have uh, added chains on there. Native Bitcoin is the one I'm most excited for, and also the limitations. So currently, our platform has various limitations from $20,000 up to $50,000. $50,000 being the standard for the custodial versions that everybody has out there right now. So we do have the same limitations, but we are non-custodial. The difference is we are faster and cheaper. Um, we are utilizing CCTP and GMP Express, which makes our platform very fast. Um, so and our fees are very cheap in comparison. There is a competitor at a time. Now these prices have changed now. I couldn't tell you what they are currently, but there was a time when we were doing the build to move up $10,000 on a competitor's platform that was a custodial version was $600. To move
Whoa.
$10,000 on our platform, it's $80.
Nice.
Um, so big difference. So we wanted to add something that, in our opinion, was superior, faster, and cheaper, and we obviously are continuing to work to improve that. But I'm very pleased with where we're at currently, and as of today, we've done about 1.8 million in volume, over about 950 transactions. We launched December 9th. We launched. So we've been out almost a month now. And it's one of those things that you have to build your reputation in the space, in my opinion. Like, we're a new product. People need to get familiar with us and kind of trust our platform before it's being adopted. But with that said, I will say we do have two major partnerships already for SilentSwap. We've partnered with Zebu, which is a telecom um, contract settlement company. They've done over $5 billion in volume. And then we've also partnered recently with Squid who has done $2 billion in volume. And the Zebu partnership came before the platform was even launched. Squid partnership came shortly after we went live. But it's nice to see some big players in the space that are moving big volume kind of take notice of what it is that we are building, and give us a slight little nod and allow us a partnership. So definitely meaningful.
I'm gonna give
Definitely
it a
see.
try after
Yeah,
this.
please,
Yeah, for sure.
please. The always we're always just trying to move the bar higher and higher, right? So you set your goals, you set your vision, and then right before you get to that goal and that vision, you set the bar just a little higher, and you keep going. So you create an environment to where you're never actually reaching the bar. You are just furthering your vision and improving and working upon that.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, no, I love this kind of stuff. I'm excited to try it out. And I will after this interview. Okay. So I have a couple more questions, and you've been very generous with your time, so I don't want to keep you for too long. Um, the next one is just a follow up about SilentSwap. Does this somehow connect to SquidGrow at all?
Yeah, so there is no token with SilentSwap, but the connection is all of my utilities. So I want you to think of SquidGrow as like the center of my universe, right? And all of the utilities that we are building is the ecosystem. And all of the parts of the ecosystem are revenue generating because they collect fees. And percentages of those fees then feed back into SquidGrow in the form of a buyback or liquidity injection. So that is how we have tied it in together. Every one of our utilities are registered as a separate company, not under the same umbrella as SquidGrow, but they all kind of operate within the same ecosystem and all give benefit back to the community in the form of buybacks and liquidity injections.
Cool. Very, very cool. Awesome. All right. So moving on, two more questions. So you are a KOL. I would consider you a KOL. I don't know if you would take on that moniker yourself or not.
No,
But
I appreciate that. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, yeah. So I was wondering if you have any opinion about this kind of like sudden explosion of interest in AI agent KOLs and AI agents in general. How do you see that? There's been a lot of talk on the timeline about these AI based accounts replacing or supplanting human KOLs. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so obviously it has its place, but there's nothing that's gonna replace the aspect of the human thought process, the human interaction. Um, although these AI bots are, I'm assuming, very intelligent, it you lose the human aspect of it, like the interactions, the thought process, the reasoning, factoring in experience and life. These are all things that AIs don't necessarily have. I'm sure they could probably be coded in there somehow, but um, I don't think that you know in real life KOLs are going to go anywhere anytime soon. I don't think they're going to be replaced by these AI agents, although they do serve their place. These AI agents, um, you just you can't replace the human aspect of it. You know what I mean, at least not in this day and age currently. I think that there's some very incredible things that are being done with the AI tech. I have been seeing a lot of these AI agents. It's all over X. I'm not super familiar with it, but I have seen stories where people have, done made some pretty incredible trades based on these things that these AI agents are calling. But there's not that interaction there. There's not that video to watch. There's not that individual factoring in real life lessons that have been learned in whatever it is that they're talking about. I just think, you'd be very hard pressed to, you know, do away with, the human aspect of it. So with that said, I do think they do serve their place, but I don't think anytime soon that, it's going to be replacing any KOLs. There's just, you got to have that human aspect of it. I think people can relate to certain traits that individuals have versus an AI agent with just some text on the screen, telling you to do X, Y, Z. There's not that real connection there, and a lot of people get a connection to these KOLs in this space while they're watching them and following them through their journeys and endeavors and so on and so forth. Like there's that sense of camaraderie or a bond with one another, even though it's just through the screen. So it's definitely making progress, the AI agents, but I don't see it replacing live KOLs anytime soon.
Hmm. Yeah. I
What are your thoughts on it? Tell me.
Well, so yeah, I haven't been very impressed with the AI agents, to be honest. I think that there's basically one. I think that's kind of impressed me, and all the others just seem kind of AI slop so far. I do think they'll come a long way, and I do think it's a great trade for 2025. But I can imagine maybe human KOLs being kind of bifurcated into two paths. You have people like yourself who you have calls maybe or predictions or engagement that you have online, but you also are making things,
Yeah.
and so you have what I would consider like KOLs who are actually kind of net positive, just creating something for the space. They're not merely kind of commenting on it
Yeah.
or doing price predictions and stuff like that. And then the KOLs, which I think there are a lot of them who are just kind of adding text to the timeline. I think they could be largely replaced maybe with
Yeah.
some of this AI stuff. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's kind of overdone. I do think they'll have their place, but I think that yeah, maybe you'll see the KOL kind of space break into two paths, um, which probably will be positive in general because it'd be nice to have KOLs who are actually doing stuff, kind of more highlighted than perhaps they are now. So anyway, those are just the
Yeah.
thoughts off the top of my head. I don't
Definitely
have.
going to be interesting to see how it further evolves. This is just the beginning of it, right? So, I mean, in a couple years from now, it could be this incredible thing. But as of right now, as you said, it's not very impressing. And I still think, even down the road, replacing AI for that human aspect, um, I that relatability, I think is something that's going to be hard to, AI is going to have a hard time filling that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And just having this talk with you, like, how I think it's going to be really difficult to trust AI with lots of money. I feel like how in projects, and I just don't know. It's already so hard to trust humans, right? But we grow up around humans. We learned how to kind of gauge who you can trust and stuff like that. I've had other conversations with other people like how are you going to be able to gauge whether an AI is going to rug you or not if they
Yeah.
if they create a coin? Like I feel like that's just some weird dystopian stuff right
Yeah,
there, right?
I think
Like
one did actually create a coin. Then wasn't there an AI that made a coin or something?
I
I thought I heard something about that. It might have been BS, but
yeah. I don't know if they made the coin. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a couple things like this too, and there are ways to kind of um uh what's it called? There are kind of ways to protect whether the AI retains keys or not. But then
yeah,
like rugging in terms of like they have a certain amount of supply of the coin, for example,
yeah,
so they can
yeah.
just kind of randomly sell it off. Or
Nuke the
I've
chart.
seen
Yeah,
yeah. I've seen AI agents come out in support of a coin. Oh, this is my coin. I love this coin. And then like hours later, I hate that coin. That's nothing. What are you talking about? So like,
Yeah,
yeah. Anyway, so you
crazy
get things like
watching.
that.
Yeah.
All right, last question, very last question. I just wanted to know, do you have any thoughts for 2025? Anything you're looking at
Um, what do you mean looking at as far as like crypto or just in
in
general?
crypto?
Or
Yeah, are there any things that you think are important to pay attention to in crypto for 2025? Are there
well,
anything
I,
that you are kind of focused on for this year?
I think I think one of the narratives for 2025 is actually going to be privacy, right? We're seeing more and more big figures actually talk about privacy, more and more people saying, "Oh, Bitcoin's not private." Like, what the hell? You know, we had Tucker Carlson talking about privacy and the needs and desires for it. And, I think 2025 is going to be a year of people realizing that, they deserve a level of privacy, the same level of privacy that you would get from, transacting on Zelle and Venmo, right? You don't want the entire world to see those transactions. So I think one of the narratives are definitely going to be privacy, but in the broader scheme of things, I think with the political infrastructure that we have coming into office right now, I think we're going to have a more crypto friendly administration. I'm definitely very excited to see how that goes for us. I was in Nashville at the Bitcoin conference when Trump
Oh,
spoke,
nice.
um, and he talked about a Bitcoin reserve, and obviously, he's in communication with a lot of big figures in crypto. Michael Saylor's going to Mar-a-Lago, right? Chris, the CEO of Crypto.com, is meeting with him at Mar-a-Lago. All these big crypto figures are having meetings with Trump. Why is that? Well, it must be because his stance on crypto obviously changed, and I definitely think that there could be positive structure put in place that could benefit the crypto masses. I think that you know, um, at least in the United States, which will hopefully trickle, around the world, that in a more positive atmosphere is taken when it comes to crypto and regulations and so on and so forth. I think the world that's kind of been negative, the rest of the world that's kind of been a little more negative to it in some parts might be a little more open to it, and I think that's good for the entire crypto market. So just in recap, I think, privacy is going to be a big narrative in 25. A lot of people are now talking about it. And, the regulatory stance that I think we could possibly see from, the new administration coming in. As far as tokens or coins that, I'm watching, I just like to accumulate the blue chips. And if there's an occasional meme coin that comes along my desk that I find interesting, I'll gamble with it. As for SquidGrow, we're going to continue building and delivering the best quality of products that we possibly can, and continue to work day in and day out and be reachable for the community. I think you know 2025 is going to be a good year for the entire crypto market, and make sure that you place your liquidity in a place that you have conviction in, and let's enjoy the fruits of the labor, because we've been weathering the bear market for years, and typically we get the bull market for only several months, and then it's repeat. So make sure that your liquidity is parked in a place that you are comfortable with, and let's enjoy the fruits of our labors, and the stress. Weathering the ups and downs of the crypto market isn't for everybody, but when the market turns green again, all that falls away. It's very quickly forgotten when that euphoria sets in, and I don't think the euphoria has set in obviously yet, but I think we are getting ready to get going, and it's an incredible time. I'm definitely looking forward to it. The bear market was long and rough.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Shibtoshi, for doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it.